Hi everyone and welcome to episode 11 of the Why series. In today's episode we are going to talk about the importance of hip internal rotation and share with you guys some exercises. So hip internal rotation is the turning of your femur inward towards your pelvis, so rotating inwards. As you do so, your foot moves away from your body. We do this movement thousands of times a day, both when exercising and during day-to-day activities. Poor internal hip rotation is when the thigh doesn't do this properly due to issues with one or more of the muscles that work together to rotate the hips. It is a relatively common problem. Many people don't have strong or flexible enough muscles for the internal hip rotation that they need for specific exercises or tasks, and it's especially important to strengthen this area when undertaking new exercises. Furthermore, lack of these muscles can lead to mobility issues and health problems down the line, so it's a really great idea to include some internal hip rotation stretches into your daily fitness routine. Hip internal rotation is also very important in sport and performance training. Here are a few examples where people need this without even knowing it. So during a change of direction, hip internal rotation helps decelerate the body while also loading the hip, allowing for powerful reacceleration. When sprinting, hip internal rotation allows an athlete to maximally extend their hip and get over the stance leg at terminal toe off, thus improving stride length. Lastly, for rotational athletes in golf, baseball, tennis, etc., hip internal rotation is crucial for optimizing force transfer from the lower extremity to the upper extremity. But what happens when an athlete doesn't have adequate hip internal rotation? The hip needs full internal rotation for proprioception. We must have full mobility so that the mechanoreceptors can see the entire picture and provide an accurate response for what is needed in the correct proportion and at the right time. Limitations in hip total rotational range of motion have been linked to increased risk for adductor strain in professional soccer players, and limitations in hip internal rotation has been associated with increased lower back pain in professional tennis players. Decreased hip internal rotation also increases the risk of back and abdominal muscle injuries in pro baseball players. After learning about the importance of internal hip rotation, you may be wondering, how do I know if mine is normal? It's a great idea to learn what normal hip internal rotation is and how to tell if yours is abnormal, so if any problems arise you will notice and be able to resolve them straight away. Normal hip rotation is thought to be 40 to 45 degrees. Of course, not many people have the ability to measure the exact angle that their leg moves, so unless their hip rotation is wildly abnormal, this may be hard to measure. Luckily, there are other indicators that you can use to check your hip rotation. Normal hip internal rotation should enable the person to move their limbs freely from their hip joint. There should be no stiffness or pain, and mobility should be full and flexible. Any pain in the upper leg or buttocks area could be due to poor hip internal rotation, as could soreness or stiffness in the back or lower down the leg, as far as the knee, as the muscles here compensate to make up for weak or damaged hip muscles. For example, if your hip rotators aren't working properly, your spine could be rotating more to make up for it. This will then cause lower back pain.